There is page 61. The approach of stepping back to observe the hindrances subjectively can only work under certain circumstances. What are they, and how would you tackle a particular hindrance in the absence of such circumstances? You understand this question? Because in this Satipaṭṭhāna, under Dhammanupasana, what you're supposed to do is just to step back and look at the hindrance, identify it, and then hopefully it will just go away, you know, and then you come back to your primary object of meditation. But what happens if it doesn't, you know, if it doesn't go away and it's very persistent and very obsessive and you cannot meditate? How do you handle the hindrances when such things happen? What are the conditions and circumstances under which you can actually step back and look at them objectively? And what are the circumstances whereby you cannot do so? Okay, and how would you tackle the hindrance if you cannot step back and look at them objectively? Okay, so please form your groups and start your discussion.
Okay, first of all, we are going to explain about what are the 5 hindrances. One is the sensual desire.
No need to explain. You already explained. Just tell me the circumstances. Trying to buy time.
Okay. To answer the question is what are they? One is strong mindfulness. It means is we really focus on what we are doing, and then number 2 is bringing mind back to our primary object of meditation. Is like just we come back to the present moment. How would you tackle? Okay, and how would you tackle? And how would you tackle particular hindrances in the absence of such circumstances? Okay, for change your object of meditation. For example, like if you feel sleepy while you're doing the breathe in and out meditation, just try to change the object to the 31 parts of the body, or like switch your posture from like maybe like when you are doing the sitting meditation, then change to the walking meditation. I think that's all.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to share what they have come to conclude? Yes, please.
So I'd like to just add on what Sister had just said. From our group discussion, we came out the circumstances that we think that is relevant is the right attitude. One should have the right attitude when it comes to meditation, as in you should have the right effort. You shouldn't fight. You shouldn't reject whatever that comes to your, whatever hindrances that comes to you when you're meditating. At the same time, one should also have right intention. What I mean is, one should have the intention to watch out for these hindrances. And to tackle the hindrances, the example that we took was sloth and torpor. Like what Sister has said, we can change the posture, or what our group has came out with. Also, we suggested we can change the meditation method. So maybe you can switch to samatha if it doesn't work anymore. Or you can switch from 92 parts of the body to 9 corpses.
92 parts?
32.
My goodness.
32. Sorry.
Yeah, if 92 parts more busy, then you won't sleep.
If all fails, you should go to sleep.
That's good advice.
Bhante. This is just sharing from a group to add on to what has been shared. So as a last resort, I repeat, as a last resort, you can be firm with the mind and say, shut up. If you have any strong feeling, desires for food, sensual desires, just try to still that mind that way. Be very firm. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else?
Okay, maybe I just want to share my personal experience for the benefits of especially new meditators, because just now there are some new meditator in our groups, you know. She was saying that, you know, when she tried to focus on the breath, she felt that almost suffocated, you know, very tense, very anxious, and every time she tried to pay attention to her breath, then she couldn't, and it has been like for many years, you know. Then I think this is a very major misunderstanding. Maybe after this course, one day have talking about so many meditation objects, like observe of the body posture, elements, but this idea of focusing on the breath or the rising, falling is so strong, it's stuck in our mind. We thought that if you cannot focus on the breath or the rising, falling, we can no longer meditate anymore. And many people have this idea. And also for me, you know, from the beginning, we always try very hard. I cannot feel my breath, you know, and I also cannot rising, falling. For a very long time, I couldn't feel the rising, falling. And every time when I listen to the tapes, you know, the shadow will talk about you have to see the beginning, the middle, and the end of rising, falling. I have no rising, falling. You know, then I cannot meditate, you know. And it make me really anxious, you know. Oh, and after all, you know, I think I'm quite lucky, you know, meet the Sadhu Utesaniya, you know, and he's talking about, you know, meditation objects are not important, but we have to cultivate the right attitude. The other problem that I have is restlessness. My mind is never stopped. A lot of thought, you know, like waterfall. And it's true, it's just like waterfall, and somehow I get very frustrated if I couldn't calm down my mind and focus on the breath. So after that, I heard about this right attitude, like Ken have just mentioned, which is really important to relax, you know, to check your bodily tensions, whether your mind is tense or not. If your mind and bodies are tense, then you are not meditating in the right way. Oh, this always struck my mind. Then I have to check my body and mind whether it's relaxed or not. Then to accept, if you want desire something which is different from what is happening right now, then this is loba, you know, in your meditating mind. Then this is not the right meditation as well. And if you are rejecting something which is happening, for example, you cannot observe the breath, but you don't like it, then this is dosa, this is hatred. Then it's not okay. I mean, you have the wrong attitude, so you have to change the attitude. Then you can also aware of the bodily posture, the elements, you know, and everything. I find it extremely easy because the breath is very small, the body is so big, you cannot lose the body, you can lose the breath. So you just come back to the body, very easy, very at ease. Meditation becomes so simple and easy after I learned about this technique. So this is my sharing. Thank you.
Saru. Yes, one brother wants to say something. Yes.
Good morning. My group has quite a bit of a discussion over some of these hindrances. Particularly, I think the idea is that if you have the distraction, if it's something sensual, we thought about having it distracted by way of the meditation through attention to discuss, you know, the 32 parts of the corpse. So you try to break away or make the lust or the longing or the desire to that sensual feeling to fade away. For ill will, the group thinks that we should try to focus on metta. You know, thinking about loving kindness, starting from yourself to people around you and so on. So starting to, you know, to look at metta, and hopefully then the anger, the ill will fade away. For dullness and drowsiness, change to different posture, walking and so on. For myself, I find that open my eyes and, you know, wake me up a bit, and I close it, you know, and it helps me to get the extra energy to push on. For restlessness and remorse, I think back to the 4R that Bhante have just said, But sometimes it's not so much remorse. It could be setting the barbecue in your mind. So we thought that we have to recognize it, but to have it move away, we have to make a commitment to do something about it. For myself, I find that in the little meditation I do, if I recognize it, it's not good enough. I find that if I make a commitment tomorrow, if I do something about it, I commit to do it, it will go away. So that commitment seems to work for me. Okay. Finally, for doubts, we are not too clear about that, but I think the general consensus is that have faith. Back to faith is it, okay, if you think that it's not working, sometimes we do, like, well, you know, why were we doing this? We're so tired. What is the benefit? Really, can't we wait tomorrow? Can't we do tomorrow or whatever? But back to faith that all these are for good. We will know we are on the right track. We should persevere and give it a go. You know, nothing is perfect, but the experience is what counts, and we're built on it. So it will get easier and easier as we continue to do it. Okay, Bante, that's all. Thank you.
Sadhu. On, please.
Just now my group 3. Every time we say, sure, not lucky one, but every time very lucky, twice already. Anyway, sadhu to our sister Liana. Also to add on to what our brothers and sisters have said, a personal anecdote, Bante. On the first day, when one of the coordinators in the evening, he said, okay, participants will be divided into groups. And then I'll name the facilitators. And so my name was called as the facilitator. And I said, why me? My jaw literally dropped. Because this is the first meditation retreat. And Satipaṭṭhāna, I just read in passing, no idea what it is. And I said, oh, how? Cham liao, you know. And that night, when Bante Kumara guided us in meditation, and he said, first, how many first-time meditators? And I was one of about 4 or 5 people who put up the hand. I said, wow, lagi cham liao. I'm in a group of seasoned meditators. So this fear, Bante, and this envy also, that I sure cannot do it. So this doubt was so strong, it adds on every day. First day, second day, even as I was sitting here for the first day, second day, Bante, listening to you, I cannot breathe. And I was telling my friend, I have shortness of breath, and this is when I cannot feel deadlines in the course of my work in the university. When I don't have so many deadlines and I think I don't have time, I have shortness of breath. And I said, my God, I come for retreat and I have shortness of breath. So I said, okay, better keep quiet. After the Bante Kumar, I said, better keep quiet, just listen and don't talk. And I just don't want to discuss, and you know, this interview, it made me so embarrassed that I cannot sit down properly. But then came the 31 parts of the body and the corpse. And I find that, wow, I like it because pleasant feeling, because I like to visualize all the blood. And yesterday, lunchtime, I was sitting among some sisters, and I said, how to visualize dead corpses? I said, first you imagine bloatedness. And then I said, pork cha. Ayo! Just like the check pork cha. And then the sister was, I'm not sure, I think she's not quite happy. I said, I'm so sorry. Because you asked me how. So I thought, this is my way, you know. And in the evening at night, when Bante said, okay, guided meditation, I said, wow. Also tension, sweat, we say, like now also sweating. But then I find that I could literally fall, even though I cannot sit properly yet. But my mind was very calm in the sense that breathing in, like brother said, you know, I was like the first time meditator. It's difficult to breathe in and out because I cannot find the breath. But when it comes to the 31 parts of the body, I thought I can do it. And then also the corpses. But after that, when switch to elements or switch to other things, difficult already, postures difficult. So now I understand that there's no one way, the only way you can actually. So this doubt whether I can do it, because anecdote, when I was, as usual, I'm the Fasci. So morning I'll say, good morning, brothers and sisters, I'm your Fasci. And then I was sitting beside Brother Raymond, and then he said, Fasci, you're Fasci. How many times have you come for retreat? Like I cannot breathe already because he said, you must be very good to be chosen by SBS to be a facilitator. I said, okay, I said, because this is, and I told him, Brother Raymond, actually, this is my first time. I don't know why SBS chose me. I said, I said, I don't know how. And then he said, wow, but then you survived 2 days. He actually said that you survived 2 days. I said, yeah, I survived 2 days. I don't know how, but this third time, I think you're all like this season. Maybe you can see through. Monday, thank you.
Sister, not only did you survive, you become the star now. Okay, since y'all have been so eloquent, I just want to add on, just like everybody else. And all your answers are all very reasonable and very acceptable. But I thought that, the circumstances can be found in the definition itself. Like I always say, the prerequisites for Satipaṭṭhāna, you must be ardent, you must put in the effort, and then you must also be clearly knowing, be mindful, remember instructions. For example, remember that your mind, the attitude of the mind is very important, and how to do it. You see, this is very important. And then finally, this is where it comes in, you must have some degree of control over your worldly longings and dejection. Without this, you cannot just step back and look. These are the very 4 important factors. But whatever you have said is also included inside there. When you're talking about having right attitude and all that, it comes from remembrance, isn't it? It comes from sati. You remember what the Sayadaw said, and you remind yourself to put it into practice. Remind to check your body, come back to your object. Even if you cannot find the rising and falling or the breath, you can still be aware of hearing. You can be aware of various sensations in the body. Okay, let's also have a look. Then some of you also said about substituting the object, right? This is also recommended by the Buddha, as we can see on page 94, appendix number 3. This is called Vitakka Santana Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta number 20, the stilling of thoughts discourse. I want you to look at the shaded or highlighted words. Sign here refer to nimitta. All right, here signs is a plural, nimittani, and sign as a singular is nimittam. Let's look at the context of how it's used. Monks, 5 signs are to be attended to at the appropriate times by a monk intent on the heightened mind. Now, heightened mind here refers to one who is intent on meditation, on developing a higher state of mind. Which 5? Here, monks, when a monk refers to a particular sign, attends to a particular sign, evil, unskillful thoughts, connected with desire, connected with hatred, or connected with delusion, arise. Monks, another sign apart from that one, connected with what is skillful, is to be attended to by that monk. When he is attending to this other sign, apart from that one, connected with what is skillful, then those evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, connected with hatred, or connected with delusion are abandoned. They go away. With their abandoning, right within, his mind stills, settles, becomes unified, and is composed. Actually, what the Buddha is trying to say is that you substitute the subject of your attention. If you're paying attention to something, and that thing that you're paying attention to gives rise to a lot of unwholesome, evil, unwholesome states, then you change the subject. Like our brother said just now, that if you have a lot of lust, then you should try to change to asubha, all 31 parts of the body. If you have a lot of ill will, then you try to change to metta. Right? So this is substituting the object. So the sign here refers to a theme, an object, a subject matter that your mind pays attention to. And what is important is that just by doing this, by substituting a wholesome subject matter to think about, leads to samadhi. If you look at page 96, the words, the mind stills, settles, becomes unified and is composed, in Pali is Chittam Santittati Sannisidati Ekodi Hoti Samadhiyati. Can you see that on the left? I want to give you the literal meaning of these words. Okay, Chittam means the mind. Santittati means stands properly. This implies that the mind was not standing before that, it was running all over the place. Okay? So it stands properly. Sannisidati, it sits properly. Okay, which shows that there is increase in stability. Right? Sitting is more stable than standing, right? Alright, so it stands properly, it sits properly, ekodi hoti, it becomes unified. Unified because the mind actually comprises many mental states within itself. And when it settles down, then all the mental states are able to work together in harmony. That's what is meant by being unified. And then samadhiyati is the verb for samadhi. Here we translate it as is composed. Alright? So, just by substituting the object of your attention can also lead to samadhi, provided it is something wholesome. And you can see the whole process of how samadhi is gained. It is a gradual process of stabilizing the mind. Right? Not from running all around, it stands properly. From standing, it sits properly. And then once it's seated, then it becomes unified, and then it becomes composed. Right? We will come again to these words later part in tomorrow's workshop, because this is what the Buddha defined samatha. Now, the Buddha defined samatha according to these terms. Samatha is a process of settling the mind in this way, making it stand properly, sit properly, unified and composed. Okay, let's go on to the next option. So the Buddha says that if that doesn't work, then you go on to the next option, which is, monks, the drawbacks of those thoughts are to be scrutinized by that monk thus. Truly, these thoughts of mine are unskillful. These thoughts of mine are blameworthy. These thoughts of mine result in suffering. So this is just reflection, reflecting on the disadvantages and drawbacks of the thoughts that are creating so much evil and unwholesome mental states to arise. Right? When you reflect in this way, particularly if you are a thinker, right, it may help to remove or abandon those unskillful thoughts. Right? This also will lead to samadhi in the same way. Right? So samadhi here is not concentration, you're not concentrating the mind, it's stabilizing the mind and calming it down to be composed. Right? And then if this still doesn't work, you go on to the next option, which is, monks, those thoughts are to be forgotten, not to be attended to by that monk. Now if you look on the left hand column, you will see the words at the last line, asati amanasi karo. Can you see that? Asati amanasi karo. Right? Asati means unmindful. Unmindful here is translated as to be forgotten. Don't remember them. Don't remember those thoughts. Don't remember those subject matter that is causing so much unwholesomeness to arise. Amanasi karo means don't pay attention. Right? So you can see that sati here actually means remembering. Don't remember those things and just avoid it. Of course, this is very contradictory to the whole Satipaṭṭhāna practice, right? The Satipaṭṭhāna doesn't ask you to push them away. Right? Satipaṭṭhāna asks you to confront and identify and understand how these states arise. But as I said, when the circumstances are not there, you cannot do it. You're so obsessed by those thoughts, then you have to revert to other means. So these are the alternative means. If Satipaṭṭhāna doesn't work, then do this. Right? If it works, go ahead and do Satipaṭṭhāna. Just watch them, understand them, let them go. Right? And by doing this also, you can get samadhi. Then the next, if still this doesn't work, you go on to the next option, which is, monks, the stilling of the thought formation of those thoughts is to be attended to by that monk. Now this one is a bit more difficult to understand. What does it mean? What do you mean by trying to still the thought formations of those thoughts? Well, the word formation is sankhara. Right? If you look at it, look at the Pali, it says vitaka sankhara santhanam. Right? And sankhara here implies that there's volition. Right? Look at the intentions behind your thoughts. What are the intentions behind your thinking? There is a simile given by the Buddha, which I did not put it here because it's kind of rather lengthy. The Buddha says, imagine there's a person who is walking around, walking very fast. Walking very fast, and then this person suddenly realized, hey, why am I walking so fast? Then he slows down. Then as he slows down, then he asks himself, why am I walking? Why not stand? So he stood. When he's standing, then he asks himself, why not? Why am I standing? Why not sit? You know? And then as he's sitting down, he says, why not I lie down instead? Okay, so actually you are questioning, you know, the intentions of the mind, trying to slow it down. So in practical terms, this is how I interpret it. You try to look into the cause and condition. Why do you think? Why does this thought arise? Where does it come from? Although it's not really in the same, it's not the same as Vipassana or Satipaṭṭhāna meditation where you step back and look. This one is actual intellectual questioning. You know, in Vipassana, in the Dhammanupassana, you don't do intellectual questioning. You ask a question and you continue the meditation, and the insight will arise. But this one is you actively rationalize and intellectualize, right? Because you are not in a position to do Vipassana yet. Your mind is not calm enough, not composed enough to do that. So you're actually substituting that thought with another thought, looking into the cause of that thought. Okay? And this also ends in the same way. Eventually, right within, his mind still settles, becomes unified, and is composed. So you can also achieve samadhi by reflection. And finally, if that also still doesn't work, like what one of our brothers said, you know, monks with teeth clenched and tongue pressed against the roof of the mouth, his mind is to be beaten down, constrained, and crushed mentally by that monk. You make a very strong decision, you know, to shut up. Okay. All right. So this is brute force. This is the final, you know, the last resort. You know, better than nothing. And I can really share with you one experience that I had with that I heard about. When in my early days, when I was in Mahasi Meditation Center, that was in the early 80s. And then there was one Venetian who came to meditate, a short man, and he tried to do meditation. After a few days, he left. So I went to ask one American monk there who was sort of out of retreat, and he was sort of counseling the foreign monks in that our lodge. So he said, oh, that poor guy, you know, he was so overcome by lust that, you know, he actually literally banged his head against the wall. Yeah. So in Mahasi, the problem is the only way you can do is Vipassana. Just watch, aware. But when you're so overcome by that, you can't just be aware, you know. You have to do something else. Yeah, you have to do Asubha meditation, or get up and do walking, or do something to distract your attention. Yeah, so that's why in the forest tradition, in the Thai forest tradition, this Asubha meditation, 31 parts of the body meditation, is a mandatory practice for all the forest monks. You know, whenever they have you know, any lustful thoughts, then they will resort to that. So I often also tell my students that if you want to learn how to swim, you cannot do so when the sampan capsizes. Right or not? When you want to cross a river and then suddenly the sampan capsizes and you want to start to learn to swim, you think you can? Cannot. So you cannot just start to do Asubha when you have lust. You know, at that time your mind might not even want to go there. You know, because your mind is so attracted to that beautiful object that is causing all these pleasant sensations in you. So you have to start before that. You know, you have to learn all these things before you go into battle, so to speak. Right? Okay, so having looked at what this sutta says, let's now look look at what the commentaries have to advise us on how to prevent the hindrances from arising. Conditions for prevention of sensual desire, like everybody says, learning Asubha meditation. Learning itself, not yet practicing. Second one is to practice Asubha meditation. And Asubha here covers both the 31 parts of the body as well as the corpses. 3, guarding the doors of the senses. What does this mean? This is part of the gradual training, whereby you are very alert on how your mind is responding to the senses. When you see something at the corner of your eye, you are able to catch the intention in your mind to want to look. And then if you are having good mindfulness and clear knowing, then you'll be able to know that is a lustful object. If I look at it, it will create more lust. So better don't look. Right? So that's how you guard the sense doors. With regard to other things, whether it's sound or whatever. So whenever you feel that the mind is going to start to grasp the signs and features, because it's just a glimpse, at the corner of your eye. You haven't really seen the full picture yet. But if you really turn and look, you will see. And once you see, when you close your eyes, there will be a nimitta in your mind. You might find it so difficult to get the anapana nimitta, but to get a lustful nimitta, very easy. That is wrong samadhi. Moderation in eating also is recommended, because if you eat a lot, then you become very sleepy. When you sleep a lot, then the mind starts to have a lot of lustful thoughts. 5 is to have good spiritual friendship, where people encourage you to practice Asubha meditation, talk about the disadvantages of sensual desire, sensual pleasures, and so forth. And finally, suitable conversation which you can get with good spiritual friendship. Number 5 and 6 is the same for all. Okay. As for ill will, learning metta meditation, practicing metta meditation, reflection on karmic ownership. Karmic ownership can be reflected from 2 aspects. One is to reflect that the person who created so much trouble for you is the owner of his own karma. Don't worry about what he has done. Don't try to seek revenge. The karma will take care of him. Okay? Or you can look at it from your point of view. I've not done anything wrong, I don't know why he's doing such nasty things to me. Well, you may not have done anything wrong in this life, but in the past life, you could have offended him and he had not forgiven you. Right? So you could also give up and say, no man, pay back my karmic debt. Good thing that I'm a Buddhist. If I were not a Buddhist, I would have, hantam him already. Okay, then 4 is much wise consideration. Like just now we said, the disadvantages of harboring such thoughts. For example, you could say, one sadhu says that there's actually no one who makes you angry. You make yourself angry. Why? Because I'm having these expectations on this person, and he should do like that, and he didn't do like that. So you look at it and say, why am I causing so much suffering to myself? You let go of the expectation. It's already done. It's already finished. So that's also another way of reflecting on yourself, on your actions. Then 5 and 6, as I said, are the same. If you associate with people who are good friends, they are along the spiritual path, they will ask you to have more understanding, to forgive, and let go. But you go and associate with people, more worldly people, they say, how can you let him do this? You must hantam him back, give him back 10 times more than what he did to you. Then you're in for it. Wrong company. Then you'll be influenced by them. Second one. Now, how to remove ill will? This one is not from the commentary. This is from the Anguttara Nikaya, recommended by the Buddha himself. He says, first, develop metta for that person. As I said, it's not so easy. You have not done metta before. If you try to develop metta to that person who made you angry, you'll get more angry, right? So if you have done metta before also, unless it's very strong, you cannot do it directly to that person. You have to start somewhere. Just now our brother said, start with yourself. But not everybody loves themselves. I've taught metta to so many people, and some people say it's easier for them to do it to another person than do it to themselves. So you start off with whichever works for you. If another person also doesn't work for you, you can start off with your pet dog, your pet kitten, or even with the plant that you planted. You know, if you have got green fingers, you love botany, you love planting, you know, maybe that love for that plant could start off something, and then you can extrapolate or extend that love to other beings. You could develop compassion. I think easier to develop compassion, right? That person, you know, he must be suffering for him to do such a thing to me. Right? Poor guy, he doesn't know what he's doing. Karma will catch up with him, right? So that's one way of forgiving that person. Or you could develop equanimity and look at him in terms of, you know, well, it's just elements. After all, elements only. I'm also element, he is also element. There's no self there, nothing, so forget it. It's just equanimous. Or you can forget that person. It's like what the Buddha recommended just now. Don't think about him. Don't think about the situation. Just block it out of your mind. And number 5, resolve on karmic ownership, like what I said just now. That's all. And then on sloth and torpor, grasping the sign of overeating. As you all know, eating too much will cause sleepiness. Changing postures, that's obvious. Attention to the perception of light. You know, if not only light, you know, if you're already sleepy, don't sleep in a stuffy room like this. You know, go to Bhavana Grove Sala. That's the best place. Fresh air, a lot of oxygen produced by the plants, you know, and a lot of a very nice breeze. And go to a lighted place where it's bright. Staying outdoors, like going to Bhavana Grove Sala, and then good friendship and suitable conversation. Number 4, restlessness and worry, being learned or knowledgeable. Just now I said that having remorse is good provided your premises are correct. You know, provided, you know, your values of right and wrong are correct. If your values of right and wrong are not correct, then you might worry unnecessarily. For example, you are observing the 5 or 8 precepts, and then just now you stepped over an ant or a caterpillar or a millipede. So very common in SBS. And then so much remorse. Ayo, I stepped over the millipede. Ayo, I broke my first precept already. Yeah, and then that remorse, you know, might keep on plaguing you in your meditation. Yeah, that's because you're not learned enough. You didn't break your precept, right? Because it was not intentional. Unless you intentionally go and kill the leech. Yeah, maybe it is. Or the mosquito. For clarification through questioning, if you have doubts, then you can ask your friend, you know, or someone who's more learned. You know, just now I just squashed a millipede, you know. How? Should I go and take my precept again? Should I go in front of the Buddha or what? Then the other friend will console you and say, no lah, no intention, never mind, not breaking precept. Then you'll be very relieved. Right? If not, you'll be plaguing your mind throughout your meditation. Okay, skillfulness in the Vinaya is also applicable to monks, because you've got so many rules, not just the 5 precepts, not just the 8 precepts, you've got thousands of rules. So you have to be really very skillful to know when an offense is committed and when it's not committed. Associating with exemplary elders, you know, those people who veterans, you know, in meditation, or for monks, you know, elders who have become monks for a long time. But here I put in brackets exemplary elders, because not all elders are worthy of emulation. Yeah. And 5, good spiritual friendship, suitable conversation, same. Then doubts, same, being learned or knowledgeable. When you want to do your personal retreat, you must be learned or knowledgeable. Because if not, then you'll be plagued by a lot of doubts and you don't know how to proceed from where you are. And then what's the point of doing a retreat? Then you'll be wasting your time. So unless you are learned and knowledgeable and experienced, don't apply for personal retreat in SPS, because I'm not available to guide you. Clarification through questioning. Of course, it's best to have a teacher or a senior who has got more experience than you. Then you can get clarification by questioning. Again, unskillfulness in the Vinaya can also cause a lot of doubts, so this is very important. And 4th, have more faith and confidence. You know, don't be so skeptical that you question every little instruction given by your teacher. and ask which sutta does it come from, where and so forth, you'll never get anywhere. Okay, 5 is good spiritual friendship and suitable conversation. Okay? So, I think that's about all for the hindrances.
Bhante, one question on this section of hindrances. This section of hindrances is actually put in as number one section on the contemplation of Dharma. What I'm thinking is that this section of hindrances, I believe it is not to be purposely have to be contemplated on all these like sensual desires, sloth and torpor, and etc. etc. Purposely to be contemplated is not. What I'm thinking is that when that particular one of the hindrances is appear during meditation, then the meditator knows how to handle it at that particular of time. So this particular section could be like for knowledge and vision, could be as to be a sati then for that meditators. So when that happen, then they can recall. But it is not part to be purposely to be contemplated for one by one all the way down.
Yes, thank you. So that's your instruction for your meditation afterwards. Yeah, exactly. All you need to do is start off with a meditation that you're comfortable with, and then in the course of a meditation, when these hindrances arise, locate them, identify them, and then go on. Okay? If your mind is calm enough, then you can actually look into the causes and conditions. Alright? So, that's it.